Well, maybe there's a couple things they can do in the next week to
Reckless speculation
to entice some fans. And so, Doogie, we've gone through all kinds of different stories and reports that have come out. There's steam that Charlotte is looking to trade up to the number one to get Wiseman. So the Wolves would presumably they would swap picks and then get something else from Charlotte. Chicago is maybe looking to trade up. We've speculated on Atlanta, but then the report that came out yesterday or the day before that it's less about the Timberwolves trying to trade out of the one and more about them trying to trade back into the lottery for a second lottery pick, and that they've had conversations with teams like New York and Atlanta. So where do you want to start? What are you hearing? Where do things sort of stand less than a week before the NBA draft?
Phil, it's all of the above. I mean, my understanding is, have offered Culver plus 17 to more than Atlanta. So yeah, they've made some efforts to move up from 17. We know this for a fact. They've had personal workouts with Kira Lewis Jr., the guard from Alabama, Obi Toppin, the forward from Dayton, Isaac Okoro, the forward, dynamic wing, maybe the best on-ball defender from a wing standpoint in this draft from Auburn. They went down to Alabama to work him out. And who's the fourth guy? Tyrese Halliburton of Iowa State. We know about Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball, but those four guys, Halliburton, Toppin, Okoro, and Lewis, are all guys that aren't going to be there at 17, so you need to move up. So those are names to keep an eye on. Do I think they're still actively looking at moving down from one? Phil, I do. I think there is a scenario where they can get Edwards or Ball. It won't be Wiseman, but they don't have the medicals on Wiseman. I wouldn't feel comfortable taking James Wiseman, even though to me, he's the best prospect in this draft. I wouldn't feel comfortable if I were Rosas without having the full medical history of James Wiseman. So to me, there are still scenarios. Charlotte does have that information as far as I'm concerned, and no, Golden State has that information. So do one of those teams move up from 2 or 3 to secure Wiseman? I don't think it's Golden State, but I think Charlotte, that makes logical sense. So I still think there's a scenario where the Wolves move from 1 to 3, end up with Ball or Edwards plus some other asset, then Charlotte gets their guy in James Wiseman. Now, do I think Charlotte has made its best offer or final offer? I don't. I was talking with Ryan McDonough, the former Phoenix Suns general manager. He'll be on my latest Scoop podcast that I'll record later. I was talking to him yesterday for a while, and he admitted, he goes, the best offers, and he had the number one pick 2 years ago. He locked in on DeAndre Ayton, passed on Luka Doncic, but for the roster they had, Ayton made a lot of sense. I think Ayton's going to be a good player, but I'm sure he has some regrets about passing on Doncic, but he was in this position just 2 years ago, 2018, so he knows all about this, and he says the best offers don't come in until like maybe Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday morning. So I don't think Charlotte at this point has made its best offer, but I would still keep an eye on that. The Wolves trying to move from 1 to 3, maybe 4, potentially 4. And at 4, they could go Toppin, Halliburton, or Okoro there. The Bulls' new president of operations worked with Rosas in Houston, so they have that bond. So Rosas knows the guy in Chicago, so I can promise you the Wolves in Chicago have absolutely had dialogue. But I would still, more than anything, keep an eye on the 3 pick, Charlotte. I can see a scenario where the Wolves move down. Now, if they can't find a trade to their liking, Phil, I think they stay at 1. And I think it's Ball or Edwards. They worked out Ball yesterday in Southern California. Jonathan Givony, who does a great job for ESPN, he was the first to report that. I can verify that. I'm told that Ball shot the ball well, but what does that mean? It was a 1-on-0 workout, so who cares how you shoot against air? But to me, it's noteworthy that the Wolves, Rosas and company, flew back out to Southern California. They were there a week or 2 ago. They fly back out there for this workout yesterday, 7 days out. That, to me, is pretty darn newsworthy. And when talking about the possibility of selling tickets, I don't know how many tickets LaMelo Ball could sell, but I can promise you this, Ball sells more tickets than Edwards or anyone else. So if you're looking for some sort of sizzle, some sort of marketing appeal, LaMelo Ball would be that guy. Plus, you would still maintain some leverage for a trade down the road. It's something we've talked about going back months, that just take the best asset. And is it possible? Now, I can argue that Wiseman is the best asset, but to me, you lose all leverage. You would piss off his camp. He's got a very powerful agent in Jeff Schwartz. You don't have the medicals. That's a tough one. You have the book on LaMelo Ball. You have everything you need to know about LaMelo Ball, but you would still maintain some leverage for down the road if you wanted to trade LaMelo Ball. Or who knows? Maybe you love LaMelo so much, maybe you trade D'Angelo Russell down the road. Probably unlikely, but I think that scenario does pop up if you end up with Ball. So I guess I would not be shocked. I don't have how their board's stacked. Everybody asks me on Twitter, is it Ball, is it Edwards? I don't know. I can tell you they've done incredible homework on both. I told you a few weeks ago that I'm not convinced they love either, but that was before spending time with each, watching both work out. So I wouldn't be shocked if they go either route, but I can just tell you LaMelo Ball offers the most sizzle. So if you're looking for some sizzle, now I would bounce that off Russell. Russell played off the ball in Brooklyn. He was fine off the ball in Brooklyn, but did you bring in D'Angelo Russell to play off the ball? Even though he can do it, is he comfortable playing off the ball? So if I were Saunders and Rosas, I'd be having some healthy conversations with Russell just to see where he's at with the idea of bringing in LaMelo Ball. But next Wednesday night, Phil, if they end up with LaMelo Ball, I would not be surprised one bit.
Play the sounder, dude. That is
Reckless speculation.
wow. Okay, off all of those points, and going back to what we talked about with the pandemic and the interest that currently exists, or more importantly, Dukes probably does not exist in this team. From more than just a basketball standpoint aside, a business standpoint as well, do you get the sense at all that there is immediate pressure being put on Gerson to make an acquisition that will have, as I think you said, sizzle to it, because the team's being sold? If the team's appeal goes up, the price possibly does too. How do you think that right now potentially basketball and business decisions are colliding because this is such a weird time?
There is pressure, make no mistake about that. But I think there's always pressure when you have the number one pick. In the Wolves' case, 117-33. So the Wolves control this draft. But yeah, I hear there's immense pressure. You're right about the sale. I'm told that's inching closer. That this thing could happen, that it's down to two groups. I don't have specific names. I still think Daniel E. Strauss, the former Grizzlies limited partner, is still in the mix. So that's one name I'd keep an eye on. But I think that thing is inching closer to some sort of finality, some sort of purchase agreement, signed, some sort of at least verbal agreement that there has been progress, that we could see something before the end of the year, that I think there's some uncertainty with estate taxes when the Biden administration takes over, depending on what takes place in the Senate, but that things could change from an estate tax standpoint for Glenn, that it would make more financial sense for Glenn to do this now. I'm more curious to see how much Glenn retains. I mean, there's been talks of Glenn retaining as much as 40%. Maybe it's 20%. Maybe it's only 5%. Maybe it's 0. But yeah, I think we're trending more toward a new majority owner sooner rather than later. So yeah, if you're Rosas, you're feeling the pressure. You will soon have a new boss to report to. We just saw Steve Cohen with the New York Mets gut the Mets front office, right? It's not unheard of for a new owner to come in and blow things up, right? So yeah, there is immense pressure, but I don't think that Ethan Casson and Ryan Tanke are telling Gerson Rosas, you have to take LaMelo Ball because we think he can sell tickets. I don't think it's quite to that point. But yeah, do I think it's in the back of Gerson's mind heading into Wednesday? 100%.
Any indications on where Kevin Garnett stands as this comes down to potentially
he won't
two
be the
finals?
guy. He won't be it. Yeah, he won't be it, Phil. I think it makes more sense for whether it's the Strauss group or some other group after, there's papers signed to then offer the olive branch to Kevin and say, okay, it would make sense for us as we enter this new endeavor. Why wouldn't we want the all-time greatest player in franchise history on our side?
Yeah.
Let's mend fences. Kevin,
make him a part owner. Yeah.
Glenn's out. Kevin, we're giving you an opportunity to buy in at 2%, 3%. It's not like Kevin. I mean, Kevin's got money, don't get me wrong, but Kevin doesn't have stupid money. So I don't think Kevin could buy in at, 20% or 30%. But let's just say it's the Daniel E. Strauss group. I just think it would make a lot of sense for his group, for Daniel to welcome Kevin with open arms, offer him some sort of position. I don't want him making final basketball decisions, but some sort of gig, some sort of ambassador gig, but maybe he's helping out on the court. He doesn't need to live here full time. He can still maintain the residence out in Malibu, but that he spends enough time here. They put his number 21 up in the rafters. I just think that makes a lot of sense for the new owner to reach out to KG after everything is completed.
This is going to sound so dumb to say, but I will say it. All you have to do is not piss him off. Like literally, he's the best player in franchise history. And all you have to do is pick up the phone and call him and not say, we are going to, in 2 weeks, alienate you beyond belief. Seriously, like that's the step.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to own the team. You just need to get him involved and say, we value you.
I think it makes a ton of sense to give him a small sliver of ownership, to give him some ambassador role,
Sure,
and have him just like make him feel like he's wanted and part of the organization, and then give him something meaningful, but not like run the organization to do, right? Like I don't want him running operations or anything, but if he wants to be at Wolves camp for 2 or 3 weeks and working with Karl-Anthony Towns and stuff like that, all that stuff makes total sense, Doogie.
It does. It absolutely does. And I think that whoever ends up with the team, they can get that done. Now, can Glenn get that done? No. I mean, at this point, that relationship, it's beyond repair. If Glenn tried to pick up the phone to call Kevin, Kevin's not answering the phone. I don't think Kevin's answering the phone if a lot of people with the Wolves call. So those relationships are in many ways beyond repair. Kevin's got a quick fuse. Like I was talking to Joe Abunassar, who's a longtime NBA trainer. He'll also be on my podcast later. He trains Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet. He's training a bunch of draft prospects right now. Halliburton, Zeke Naji, Malachi Flynn, Devin Dotson. He's trained Porzingis over the years, Kawhi Leonard. He also trained many years ago Kevin Garnett. Abunassar's got some legendary stories, even going back 25 years, where KG would just walk in the gym, mother bleep everybody. Everybody was scared. He's got that quick fuse. He really does. So I just don't see anybody with the Wolves currently mending, that relationship. But I do think the new owner can work on that relationship.